Well, hello there, folks. It is Mikael, and I am looking forward to connecting with you this evening for probably about 45 minutes to an hour and talk a little bit about understanding the nature of decision making. And beyond just making decisions, how to learn to make wise and trustworthy decisions, so imperative as we each are embarking upon the future of the unknown, so many changes happening in the world, things that seem unprecedented and out of our reach. It's so important to begin to learn how to access, and not only access, but understand that there is a wisdom that dwells within you. And this wisdom that dwells within you, you have access to. And tonight I'm going to give you some of the steps and ways that you can do that. And decision making, to make trustworthy decisions where I can fully get behind the decision that I made. And when we're dealing with decision making, there's always going to be encountering the unknown. Encountering those people and those situations and those circumstances that's unfamiliar with us. And so understanding that we have a relationship to the unknown, and for most people, our ego, which is our limited self, is so afraid of the unknown, it would rather have some kind of answer, even if it's not the right answer. But just, I don't want to go into that anxiety, the uncertainty of self-doubt, the uncertainty of the unknown. So I often will go back to, or I should say the ego will go back to, the limited self will go back to what's familiar. And in so many ways, we're challenging ourselves to move beyond the familiar. We're challenging ourselves to grow and to stretch and to become more. And so learning how to make trustworthy decisions is going to be an important part of not only your own journey, however you come about doing that, whether you listen to this and incorporate some of the things that I teach you here, but in general, just to get an understanding that an empowered person, a person who has been following their higher wisdom, has been following their soul, as I like to call it, their spirit, their truer self, not the conditioned or limited self, which is often the ego. The ego is a part of us that was conditioned to believe and was given beliefs and given ideas from family, from friends, well-meaning, but often it limits us to our full potential. And so to make trustworthy decisions, it's about shifting away from the limited self's concept of its decision-making process and to expand beyond it into a higher octave of decision-making. And that higher octave of decision-making can lead you towards your empowered destiny. As I mentioned, we have a limited self, and then we have the expanded, empowered self. Every human being has both potentials. And it is a part of our dual nature that we live in a world of duality, and we come here and we have the wisdom from a spiritual perspective of our soul, of our consciousness, of our truer self, and also the reflection of the physical world, which is our conditioned or limited self. The conditioned or limited self is important to understand so that you can make decisions based upon your truer self, based upon your empowered destination, your empowered future. Because the limited self has a destination as well. It has a destiny, and it is very limited. It is very limited in its reach. It's limited in its ability to fulfill its sense of purpose. And so when we listen to the limited self, which wants you to be safe, wants to make sure that everything is, predictable, don't, be out of control, don't figure things, don't let yourself not understand what's going on. You got to have it all figured out and be in control and try to make everything perfect. That's the limited self. The empowered self is the part of you that has guided you through your life. Whether you've listened to it or understood it, or whether you called it just a sense of knowingness inside of you that didn't necessarily conform or make sense to the outer world, but it was a sense of knowingness, or being at the right place at the right time, or being open and willing. And so there is both parts of you. And tonight I'm going to help you to discover how to align with the empowered part of you, how to fully access and understand its nature. Because the name of decision, to decide, means that there are choices available, more than one. There's only one choice, and it's not a decision. It's the only choice I have. But when you're making a decision, you have to have multiple choices available. And out of these choices, whether it's 2, 3, 10, 12, out of these choices, I get to decide on what I'm going to do, what I'm going to move forward with. And so the root of the word decision, decide, is about death. And that's one of the resistances to making decisions for some people, is that the very nature of the word is like, I'm going to kill off all my other choices. I decided upon this. Decide. The word side, C-I-D-E, is the same word that's used in homicide or suicide. It represents death. So to decide means I'm killing off my other choices, so to speak. And I've decided on this, and all the other choices are, quote, dead to me. So the resistance to decision making comes from different expressions, but the majority of it comes from our limited or our conditioned self, which feels powerless oftentimes. It feels it has to conform and fit in and get everybody to applaud and approve of you and all the stuff that the limited self does to try to be in control and try to feel safe. And often its decisions aren't in alignment with your empowered destiny. They're more about feel safe, don't rock the boat, especially if you're in it. Keep your focus, do what you know you had to do, don't get challenged. It looks at challenge as something that's difficult. And yet the truth is, the empowered self that wants to grow, wants to evolve, wants to become more, loves the challenge of life. It's where joy is found, within the challenge, and it doesn't have to be difficult. It means it's challenging, it means it stretches you, it takes you out of your comfort zone, but it doesn't have to be difficult. And yet the limited self often relates to challenge as something that's going to be difficult to achieve. And if you believe that, then it will be. But if you realize, no, what? I can challenge myself. I have inner resources, I have strength, and I have the ability. And I look back into my past at other times when I challenged myself to become more, and what joy I found at the end of those accomplishments that I achieved that I wasn't sure if I could do. And when you finally did them, you felt a sense of not only empowerment, but a sense of renewal of your inner strength. So the word itself can be resistance, but there's other reasons why, and they all boil down to the limited self. Now, another reason why we resist decision making is, well, I'd rather let other people decide for me. Let me get them to decide, or let me paint myself in a corner until I have no other decision but to take action. But why people resist the decision making process primarily is because of the ego, the limited self's wanting and desire to blame. Who can I blame for this? Well, if I take responsibility and I make my own decisions and I'm responsible for those decisions, then I'll be to blame. So I'd rather resist making decisions, pretend that I'm forced in a corner, I had no decisions or no choices available, so I had to decide on just one thing. And when you can realize, no, it's my ego, the limited self, that's afraid of giving up the fact that I won't have anyone to blame but myself if it doesn't go right, can be a resistance, especially if you have a blame addiction. Some people love to blame. They love to blame and take, and they love to judge, and they go into this place where they utilize blame. Well, if you have that as part of your pattern as the limited self, then it's going to be resistance. There's going to be natural resistance for you to take responsibility and to make decisions for yourself. So that's one arena, if you're stuck in the blame game, that would keep you resisting and keeping you from making trustworthy decisions as well. The second one is the fear of being wrong. Well, what if I make a decision and decide to move to New York instead of Chicago, and I go to New York and it becomes a big colossal failure and it all falls apart? So the fear of being wrong is another major resistance to making trustworthy decisions. And what I suggest for those people that are afraid to be wrong is to realize, first of all, you can learn a lot if you pursue something, and let's say it, quote, is wrong. At least on the surface it appears that way. But you know what? You've learned something from that process. When I moved to California 16, 17 years ago from Florida, a lot of my friends and family were like, oh, it's so far away. Oh, it's so expensive. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. And they did a lot of the fear trying to make me safe, and I understood that. But I remember having a conversation with one of my friends. I was sitting on the front porch. It was a warm, balmy summer night in Orlando. And I remember telling him, I said, you know what? The only way I can really fail is if I don't go to California. Because if I don't go, and then 10 years later, fast forward, I look back on my life and I think, I wonder what it would have been like had I moved to California. I'll never know. That to me was failure. But for me to say, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to move across the country. And it was a big move. And in my move to California, to discover whether it's a good fit for me or not, to discover and to learn and to meet new friends and to start a new, quote, chapter in my life. And that's what I did. And then, if the worst came to worst, I didn't like it, I could always go back. It's not like you can't go back to Florida. So I would at least know whether California was a fit for me and my future, and I've been here since. So my point being is the only, quote, failure is to never have tried and to play it safe and to not have a plan B and to, and I did have a plan B. I thought, okay, if I come out here, it doesn't work out, things don't connect, I can always go back. And so it's important in your own decision-making process. This second resistance of the fear of being wrong. What will people think if I make a mistake? What will people think if I move there and I don't like it and I move back? First of all, people aren't sitting around thinking about you that much. Not as much as you're afraid of. And the empowered person is willing to be wrong. I was willing to be wrong. I was willing to say, you know what? I don't know. I'm getting a good vibe from California, and it's where my soul is kind of nudging me, it feels like to me, and it feels like opportunities were opening up in that direction. So I'm willing to be wrong in the goal of becoming and aligning with what is right for me. And so I had that goal of what would be a right move for me, and I was also willing to be wrong, meaning that I'm not going to let the fear of being wrong keep me from exploring the unknown, keep me from coming to California. So that's the second criteria, is the fear of being wrong. I got to be right. I've always got to be right. And the person who has a personality with that is going to have difficulty making trustworthy decisions. And now it doesn't mean you want to have a steady diet of wrong things, but you're willing to say, you know what? I have confidence in myself. I trust myself enough that if I go out there and it doesn't work out, that I can find a new direction and make my life work. That's what I'm talking about. It's not about having it all figured out. It's about going on the adventure and being on your own side. It's about valuing yourself and knowing that you can create whatever you desire in life. So that second resistance is the fear of being wrong. The third one is the resistance to vulnerability. You see, change involves being vulnerable. Anytime I make a change, whether it's a change in my relationships, change at work, change of job, change of locations, and what I'm talking about in this class tonight about making trustworthy decisions, I'm not talking about whether you should have an Arnold Palmer or iced tea at lunch tomorrow. That's not the kind of decision-making process I'm talking about. I'm talking about the big decisions, the major decisions, those that have the greatest impact, those decisions that ripple out and affect other people, those decisions that ripple out and affect your future. Those decisions is what I'm talking about tonight. And so the third one is vulnerability. How do you relate to being vulnerable? And a lot of people think of the last two resistances, the resistance of, who am I going to blame if it doesn't work out? I have to be responsible. And the lack of, or the resistance to being responsible, but I'd rather blame other people if it doesn't work out, to the fear of being wrong, and rather than saying, you know what, I'm willing to be wrong in the pursuit and the discovery of what is true and good for me in my future. Requires vulnerability. The third resistance is people are afraid to be vulnerable, afraid to risk, to take a chance, to stand up, to be seen, to reach out, to connect. And vulnerability is something that, again, a lot of people equate with as a weakness. Oh, where is their underbelly? Where can they be had? Where are they vulnerable where we can attack? That's what it says in the definition of vulnerability is, in a war situation, they look for their opponent's vulnerable area where we can attack, where they're less likely to be prepared, where they're less likely to be ready, and they are vulnerable to attack. Well, that's one expression of vulnerability. The empowered self also has its challenge with vulnerability. And the challenge of your empowered self is the vulnerability of not exposing your weakness, but the vulnerability of exposing your strength, of exposing your goodness, of exposing your talent, your creativity, of exposing what's right about you is vulnerable. So vulnerability is a coin, and it has two sides. One is to expose my weaknesses, and the other is to expose my strength. And a person who resists being vulnerable, afraid to stand in their power and strength, afraid to share it and shine in the world, is going to want to hide. And that lack of vulnerability is going to affect the decision-making process for you. So the third resistance to making trustworthy decisions is around that same issue. Am I willing to be vulnerable? At least with yourself. Start with yourself. To tell yourself the truth and to look at your life and to say, is this decision that I need to make that can be life-changing, that can ripple out and touch other people? To be vulnerable enough to tell myself, is this something I truly desire, or is this something I should want? Is this job promotion something I really want, or is it something that, oh, well, what will people think? And they're going to think I'm cool if I have this new title. Am I doing it for the right reasons? And it takes vulnerability to be honest with yourself, to tell yourself the truth. And that's the third resistance to making trustworthy decisions. The fourth one is the fear of judgment. Again, going back to the feeling of vulnerability, the fear of being wrong, the need and desire to want to blame instead of taking responsibility. All of these previous kind of build upon this judgment. Am I judging myself? Am I judging myself? And am I afraid of being judged by others? If I make a decision and I open up to new possibilities and I start to change my life, what will people say about me? Will I be judged? Or will I judge myself? And look at that, because that can be a resistance. If you get enamored by judgment, you're always judging people, judging other people, judging yourself, criticizing, and being in that state of mind, you're functioning from the limited self, because all four of these criteria that can get in the way are a way that your limited ego self, without the benefit of being matured and healed, can operate. And if you're playing around with the blame game, if you're avoiding responsibility, which is the same thing, if you're afraid of being wrong instead of being courageous enough to be willing to be wrong, I'm going to be courageous enough to go on an adventure. I'm going to be willing to be wrong. If you think about it, when you go on vacation to a new location, a new destination, you're being vulnerable and you're willing to be wrong. You think you're going to like it. You looked at the things online. You listened to friends who might have been there and you think, oh, this will be fun. But you don't know till you actually get there. You don't know what the weather's going to be like. You don't know the circumstances, the situation. But yet, we are afraid. People are so afraid to explore. And it takes courage to be willing to be wrong in the pursuit of what is good for you, in the pursuit of your empowered future and destiny. So, the judgment, let go of your judgments, is the fourth way to move beyond your resistance to making trustworthy decisions. So what I want to do and give you the opportunity for is to understand that there is this limited self and there's your empowered self. Well, trustworthy decisions come from your empowered self, your soul, your higher self, whatever you want to call it. And the limited self, your ego, goes and measures things that it has already experienced. So the limited self has a very small reference point to make decisions, and it will often make decisions out of fear, meaning I've got to be safe and secure, therefore don't rock the boat. Don't leave this job just because you're ready to move on and you no longer feel like you're learning anything new. It's no longer productive work. By the way, productive work is any work that challenges you to become more of yourself. When your work no longer is being productive, it means I get suffocated, I get stagnant, I'm there, and I'm doing the same thing. The job hasn't changed, but I have, and it no longer serves me. And I'm stagnating, and it might be a trap. Some people get caught in that trap. And they're like, oh, I can't just change my job and look for something that's going to challenge me unless there's something wrong with my job. There's nothing wrong with your job. It just means that you're ready to move on. And a lot of people will let their limited self, their ego, go in and create some kind of crisis, some kind of tragedy, some kind of fight with your boss in order to justify leaving and starting a new career, instead of saying, you know what, the job is good, I've learned a lot, I've grown, but I'm ready to move on. And I'm going to do it out of respect and love, not out of, let me create some kind of justification for my change. So the limited self likes to keep things familiar. It doesn't want to venture out. It doesn't want to be vulnerable. It doesn't want to take responsibility. It doesn't want to be wrong. And it likes to be judgmental. When you can move past that, you open up to another reservoir, a reservoir of your higher self, or your empowered self, your truer nature, which is connected to your soul and spirit. And what really matters to that part of you is for you to be happy. What matters to that part of you is for you to challenge yourself to become more. Life isn't about remaining the same. In essence, if life is moving forward, if life is evolving around you and you're remaining the same, you're not changing, you're resisting to change, you're resisting to making any decisions that would lead to change, then in essence you're going backwards because life is moving forward. So looking at those resistances are important. And now next I want to give you is a clarification process, a decision-making process that will allow you to get clear. Because when you're in alignment and you're clear on what you truly want, the decision-making process is so much easier. So how do you do that? Well, in this segment, I want to talk about that. And what I want to talk about is that there are basically 4 steps that set the foundation. The very first step is that you need to get centered. What does that mean, Mikhail? Get centered. Well, if you're scattered, if your mind's going 90 miles an hour and you're thinking about this and you're thinking about that and you're all over the place, not a good time to make a decision. Time out. Pull yourself together. Get centered. And what that means is let me focus inward. Let me take a couple deep breaths, focus and call back the energy that I've scattered. Like if you're worried about something at work tomorrow morning, you've got a big assignment to do at work, take your power back and just imagine I'm going to be in the present moment. I'm going to take a couple deep breaths. And one way to accelerate the process is through visualization. And what I suggest you do is you imagine, close your eyes, and you call back all the energy you've scattered. And how do you see that? How do you visualize that? Little tiny sparks of light. Sparks is consciousness. Sparks is energy. So I just want to see these little sparks of light coming back into the roost, meaning I'm calling back my energy. And as you set your intention, your attention, your subconscious mind is going to start to do that. It is not difficult to do. And if you want to accelerate it, just visualize these little sparks coming back into the center. And I'm noticing it filling up my heart. I'm noticing it filling up my spinal column, my spinal cord. As these little sparkles are coming back into the center, I notice and imagine and visualize my spinal column and cord becoming like a fluorescent bulb, where I'm now breathing, I'm centered, and I sense this light emanating from within me, and I'm now pulled back all of the scattered energy, and I'm in a position of being centered. That's the first step in this decision-making process, because you don't want to make a decision when you're scattered. Get centered, and then breathe and connect with how you're feeling. Be present in the moment. How do you do that? Be in your senses. Your 5 senses, right? Being sensual while your eyes are closed, but smell, feel the body position, notice where your body is there any tightness, is there any tension in my lower back? Let me relax it. I'm clenching my lower back, or I'm clenching my feet. Relax your toes, get centered, and get yourself into alignment. So the second step is then to connect to what is your higher wisdom. You can call it your soul. You can call it your higher self. It's the part of you that's always been there, that has often gone unnoticed, or definitely most of the time unappreciated. But it's still there. It will never abandon you. I call it your soul, your truer self, the real you, the authentic you. And so the second step in this process, get centered, and get into alignment, and then connect. Well, how do you connect with your higher wisdom? There's a way to do it through visualization that will help you, that your subconscious mind will know exactly what's going on here. And all you have to do is close your eyes and imagine above your head, about 3, just beyond your reach, your fingertips, above your head, is a ball of light, a beautiful radiant sphere like a miniature sun, a miniature moon, but it's glowing and it's pure light and it's pulsating this light, and it has the wisdom, it is enlightened, it has the energy, it has the knowingness of what's best for you. It is your guardian angel, some call it my spirit guide, some call it, but I like to call it your soul because it truly is a part of you. But you see, the problem is when you've been over-identified with the limited self, when you've over-identified with your ego, then it's hard to imagine that there's an empowered part of you, so I make it into some other person or thing or guardian angel or God or something outside of me. Well, it's connected to Source. It's connected to the divine, but it's your unique expression of that divine, your higher self, your wise wisdom self. And so you just connect with it by sensing it as this sphere, this orb of light, brilliant, loving, peaceful, calm, always present, and it's above you, shining down. And then you take a deep breath in, and as you inhale with your eyes closed now, you inhale, and as you breathe in, you imagine you're reaching up in your consciousness, in your imagination, connecting to the ball of light. And then as you exhale, okay, you inhale, reach up, exhale, bring it down. Inhale, reach up, exhale, bring it down. Inhale, reach up, connect with that ball of light, exhale, and let it slowly rest on the crown of your head. And then just feel the ball of light. It's resting there. So the major part of the sphere is on top. Slowly let it sink down. Let it become like it's inside and surrounding all of your five senses. Smell, taste, sight, hearing, feeling, the sensation. Let it surround your sense of self, which is your head. And let that light just relax your brain, quiet your thoughts, getting centered even more. And sense that ball of light actually balancing and harmonizing your brain waves, balancing and harmonizing your chemistry. Well, how can it do that? Don't worry about that. That's the metaphysical part. But let it be there. Now you've connected, and that ball of light is right there, and it's listening to every word you say. That's when you ask for help. Third step. Help me gain clarity on which part of the country I should live in. Help me gain clarity on these 3 job opportunities that have been presented to me. Help me gain clarity on what would be best for my empowered future. What would be best that would be a win-win situation for everyone around this opportunity or around these possible, probable futures. So you ask for help. And that is the third step. So you have centered, and in that centering you have connected, and then you've asked for help. And the fourth step then is to clarify, what do you want? Because you see, to make a trustworthy decision, you have to be in alignment with your truth. To be in alignment with what matters to you, you need to be in alignment with what you truly want to experience. So how does that work? A couple ways. It's a writing process. So here you are, you've gotten centered, you've taken 5 minutes. It's all it has to do this process. Get centered for about 2 to 3 minutes. Imagine the ball of light, bring it down, let it sink into until it's surrounding your head, and ask for help. Now you can open up your eyes. Meanwhile, before you have done this, get a legal pad or get a notepad. It can be something small like this or something larger, but just some kind of cheap paper, not a leather-bound journal or anything. You don't make it that official. But you're going to take something and you're going to have a writing device, a pen or a pencil or something that you can write with. And you're going to write, because the goal here is to gain clarity. So the first thing you want to write down is, what do I want? Now, you don't want to say you want that specific job. You want to say what you want in a job. How do I want to feel? How do I want to function? What will be my relationships with other people at this new job? Or moving to a new city, what am I looking to feel and function? How do I want the environment to be? To write down, what do I want? Not so much about the detail of where to work, but how I'm going to feel and how am I going to function. I want to create, for instance, if you're looking to move to a new location, a new apartment or a new house or a new condo, I want to create an amazing new living space that is spacious with lots of light and hardwood floors, and it's close to nature where I can go for a walk and the neighbors are great. And writing about how you want to function and feel. It doesn't say it's a specific property, but it's defining the energy, the function, and how you're going to feel. That's what you truly want. The form of it, where it manifests, also needs to be in alignment. So you might want to say, something close by, or something in a certain state or a certain city or wherever. You want to give it defining. So you write down, what do I want? Or what do I want in a new career change? I want to be able to work together with other people, or I want to work by myself from home, or I want to, whatever. It's up to you. There's no right or wrong answer. It's what do you really want? And so this 7 questions you're going to answer is going to help you to get into alignment, and then knowing what you want, your subconscious mind can help you to bring it about very, very quickly and with ease, with elegance. Now, when I say elegance, I'm talking about the least amount of energy expended for the maximum results. I'm talking about the scientific use of that term elegance, not a fashion statement. So that first question you've got, what do I want? Write it down. Hear that. Because you see, you cannot write as fast as you think. So by writing it down, you slow down your thinking. And when you slow down your thinking, you tap into your subconscious mind, where you might start to remember or realize, I also want this and I want that. I forgot about that. But when I slow down, I allow the information to bubble up. So write it down. And, it's about a paragraph, maybe 2 paragraphs at the most, but you don't want it to be huge, but like about a paragraph or so. What do I want? The second question you answer by writing is why. Why do I want this? Why do I want to change my job? Why do I want to move to New York? Why do I want to, whatever it is that decision-making process is all about for you. Why? And this is where you look at your motivation. Is this for me? Am I doing this for myself? Or am I doing it because of what will people think? Or am I doing it because this is what I should want to do? The conditioning. I should want to take this promotion at work. Do you want to? Or is it something you, quote, should do? I'm doing it for my parents, or I'm doing it for other people, but it's not really in alignment with me. And the why is about getting it into alignment with you. The why is to do it for the right reasons. And you can shift and change that. So why do I want to, whatever it is you're creating? Write it out. What is my motivation behind it? And to bring it into alignment with, I want this to be a new opportunity for me to grow and to become more. That's a great reason. I want this to open up and deepen my sense of security or my sense of connection with others. That's another great reason. To look at an alignment with the second question. Now, the third question that you write down in this clarifying process is, why not? Why don't I want this? What is my resistance to having it? Because the truth is, if you really wanted it and you were in alignment and connected, you would have already probably created it. But there's a part of you resisting it. And when you can expose that part of you, I'm afraid it'll be too much responsibility. I'm afraid that I won't have what it takes and I'll humiliate myself and be a failure and get fired, or whatever it is. As varied and as complex and as creative as all of you are, so too can be this experience. So I'm not going to fill in the blank for you, but why not? What is my resistance? This helps you to look at it. And if it's fear-based, let me work through and let go of those fears. If it's competition-based, let me drop the competition. I'm not doing this. I'm afraid of doing this because I might fail and my brother will humiliate me, or my sister, or this or that, or whatever the yama of that conditioned, limited self will try to convince you, to keep you from changing, to keep you from making a new decision. So that's the third question. The fourth question is, are my beliefs and my self-image, how I see myself, is it in alignment with what I say I want? Meaning, can I imagine myself living in New York? Can I imagine myself in this new company and position, having a great time and celebrating success with these new people that I'm going to step into this career? Can I imagine myself different? Can I believe it's possible for me? To believe it's possible for me. You see, it has to be in the realm of possibility for you in order to manifest it. You have to believe it's possible. And let's say, there are people, and unfortunately I've dealt with a couple of them over the years, that just weren't grounded in reality. They just weren't realistic about, do I truly believe this? No, this is what I want. It's a fantasy, and I'm fantasizing, and my ego's right there because it knows it'll never create it. So it goes along and encourages people to be, go into all these fantasies that aren't based in reality. So this fourth question helps you to look at, do I believe it's really possible? does it seem possible for me to achieve this new job or to move here or to do this or whatever I am creating a major change? That's the first thing. Is it possible? And do I believe it's possible for me? The second one is, can I see myself? Can I see myself living happily in New York? Can I see myself? Can I imagine it? Because if I can't imagine it and I don't believe it, it's not going to happen. So let me open up and expand and say, yeah, I can see this. I can imagine that. Yeah, it's easy for me. It feels good. I feel excitement. I feel a little anxiety too because it's unknown, but yeah, I feel good about it overall. So that's the fourth question. The fifth question is, in order to manifest this, in order to have this, in order to clarify what I want, what do I need to let go of? What do I need to release? What do I need to let go of? It might be I need to forgive some people. I've got some people there in the past that I need to forgive that's holding me back from attracting and allowing a new loving relationship or new friends into my life or whatever. What do I need to let go of? I might need to let go of my self-doubt. I might need to let go of one of those 4 resistances to decision making. I need to let go of my blame. I need to let go of my fear of being wrong. I need to let go of my fear of judgments. I need to let go of my resistance to vulnerability. One of those 4 could be there. But what do I need to let go of is the 5th question. And write it down. Write about it. I need to let it come up. Let it be unique to you. 5th question. 6th question is, what do I need to embrace more of? What do I need to add or embrace? 5th was let go. Now what am I going to fill the space with? I've let go of my, fear of being wrong, and I've released my resistance. Now I need to fill it with maybe some more courage. I need a little bit more courage, I could use a little bit more self-confidence or self-esteem, or I need a little bit more hope. I need more hope. I need to open up to greater hope. That's what is kind of lacking here. I go into the self-doubt and this whole nothing ever happens good for me and poor pessimism. I need a little bit more optimism. I need a little bit more hope. That's the 6th question. To be conscious, to be aware. And now the final question. You've gone through the first question, what do you want? Second question, why? Why not? You've looked at your image and your beliefs. Yeah, they're in alignment now. I can believe this is possible for me. And then I need to let go of this and I need to embrace more of that. And now the last question is the exact same as the first. What do I want? To rewrite it. But having gone through this, you will rewrite it differently. It might be very similar to what you wrote in the first part, or it could be maybe, you realize this isn't what I want. And I want something a little bit different. So write about it. Write, what do I want? Again, clarified now, in alignment, and clear to what you truly desire from a soul level, from an empowered self level. And that process can really help you to make more trustworthy decisions. And it is the 4th and final step of that decision-making process. So don't just jump to that. Do the 3 previous steps. Get centered. Connect with your higher self, your higher conscious, by imagining a ball of light. And then to let yourself ask for help. Ask for clarity. Ask for guidance. And then to do the clarity process, the 7 questions. Open your eyes after that and start writing. That is a powerful way to reveal what you truly want, but also to be in alignment, to make those decisions much easier and much more trustworthy. Now, I think what I want to talk about real quickly here, what would be valuable for you all here, a technique. Let's talk about a couple techniques. I'm going to keep this kind of short and brief, but let's talk about a couple techniques. One of them is about energy dynamics. It's about your future. Your future that I talk about, your empowered future, is full of light. It's full of love and joy and peace and happiness and success, and however you define it. It's out there in the future, and it's sending energy to you currently. Well, it's not the only future out there. There's also the future of your disempowered self, your limited self that's out there, that's dark and dire and frustrated and nothing ever works out for me and life's a bitch and then you die. That kind of energy's out there too. And it's also flowing to you, but it's much darker. It's much heavier. It doesn't illuminate. It doesn't inspire. But both of them are sending energy. So how do I align with the decision? Which decision is in alignment with that empowered future? I don't know, Mikhail. How can I figure that out? Well, let me tell you how. This is another meditative process, but it starts out by taking 3 pieces of paper. It's called the crossroads technique that I teach people. 3 pieces of paper, and on each piece of paper, you're going to write 3 different letters. So I got 3 pieces of paper here, right? So on the one side, I'm going to put, I don't know if you can see that or not, it's pretty bright. It's an L. It's upside down. There's an L written on here. And then there's an R written on here. And then there is an S, if you can see it. There you go. You can kind of see it there. S. All right. So these 3 pieces of paper, you have S, L, and R. 3 different opportunities, 3 different directions. I could move to California. I could move to Washington. I could move to Chicago. Okay, 3 different opportunities that I'm exploring as a possible new destinations. Or 3 new job opportunities. I could stay where I'm at. I could go to this job over here, or I could go to this job over here. So this involves 3. But the technique is up to 3 choices. You can narrow it down to 2, and I'll tell you how to do that. But for now, if you only have 2 opportunities or 2 possibilities, this technique will still work. But this allows you to have up to 3, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to take these pieces of paper and write L, S, and R. And then you're going to take them and you're going to cover them up so you don't know which piece of paper has the letter on the back. So you don't want to make the letter or your paper be so thin you can look through it. You want to keep this so that you don't know. And you're going to shuffle these papers up. You're going to shuffle them together so that you have the blank sides are all up so you don't know what's on the bottom. You don't know what letters on the other side. And then you're going to take one piece of paper and you're going to write Chicago. The other piece of paper, San Francisco. The other piece of paper, Washington. Or job number 1, job number 2, or stay where I'm at. Okay, that's a good way to do it, right? 3 different possibilities. So you're going to write it on the back. And you're not going to look at which letter is on the front. That's important. You don't want to spoil this. So you want to write these 3 pieces of paper, then you set it aside. Okay, you set it aside, now you're going to get centered again. You're going to get centered. You're going to do the same process of getting centered, connecting with your higher self, sensing your soul, sensing that light above you as a ball of light, bringing it down into your brain. But this time, instead of then asking for help. I need to know. I need direction. I need to know which job to take. I need to know which direction to go into. I need to blah, 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 blah. Ask for help. So allow yourself to get centered, connect, ask for help. But instead of then doing the clarifying process, because you've already done that, now you're going to do a guided visualization technique. And I purposely don't use the word meditation because people often think, oh, I can't meditate, I can't do the technique. It's not about going deep into meditation. It's about focusing and doing a visual exercise where you're going to close your eyes and imagine you're in a forest and you're walking along. And in this forest, it's beautiful. You feel safe and connected. It could be a forest you've been to. It could be one you've never been to. But you're on a path and it's smooth and it's moving along straight forward. And then you get centered and you think about the 3 different possibilities. Or in this case, if there's only 2, you think about the 2. I could take this job over here that's offered to me, or I could explore this job, or I could keep interviewing, whatever. To just ponder, think as you walk along the path in your imagination. Your eyes are closed. You're not actually moving or walking. You're in a meditative state, but you're visualizing it. And then you go up until you come to a crossroads. That's thus the technique name, crossroads. And here you are approaching a crossroads where you could do one of 3 things, right? You could move forward, meaning straight ahead, or I could turn to the right, or I could go to the left. Well, which one is which? I don't know which one to do, where to go. Well, you're going to explore. And you're going to explore this because you see that future is out there sending you energy. And you will perceive it as light, as freedom, as hope, as inspiration. So I'm going to go to this crossroads not knowing, hear this, not knowing where that, if I turn right, where it ends up. I'm not sure which job or which state or which city I will be living in, but I'm going to explore it without knowing. And I'm going to go down, take this path, turn to the right, and just imagine, how does it feel? I'm going to walk along the path. What do I notice? Is it smooth? Or is there little pebbles and boulders? Is there things I have to step over? Is it litter? Or is it clean? Is it beautiful? Is it expanding? Or is it constricting? How do I feel? What is the weather like as I move in this direction? Just kind of notice what comes up for you. What is your first impressions? Your subconscious mind knows exactly what was written on those 3 pieces of paper and knows exactly which direction the R is located. You don't know it, but it does. So you kind of explore, and then you go down that pathway, and you say, it felt pretty good overall. Yeah, I noticed a little resistance. I saw some, dead weeds on the side, but mostly it was pretty, nice weather. It felt okay, and it felt pretty good. So I'm going to go back to where I started at that crossroads. And this time, I'm going to go straight forward. I want to go straight ahead and see how does that feel in comparison to this one, to the right. I turned to the right at first, and that felt a certain way. Now I'm going to go down this other road. I'm going to just notice the same thing. What do I sense? What do I visualize? How does my body feel? Am I tightening up? Am I breathing okay? Am I holding my breath? Going down straight ahead. What is it? What am I visualizing? What is the weather coming up? Oh, Mikhail, you're just making it up. You don't make up something out of nothing. It's part of your makeup. So when you say, I'm just making it up, yeah, good. Keep doing that. It's not random. It's not by chance. But go down the straight way and then go straight ahead and notice, what do I notice here? How does it feel? Compared to the turning to the right, this feels a little bit more lighter. I feel a little bit more hopeful. I feel a little bit more expansive going straight ahead than I did towards the right. That's good to note. That's good to note. Now, if you only had 2 directions to go in, meaning 2 choices, then you don't need to do this next part. But let's say you do have 3 opportunities or 3 jobs or 3 locations. Then I'm going to backtrack and go back to where I started. Okay, over here was the right. I went down there. I know how that feels. And I went straight ahead, and I know that feels even better. Now I'm going to venture and imagine I'm going towards the left. I'm going down this other path. It's different than the one on the right and different straight ahead, but what is its difference? How does it feel? Oh man, this is really cool. I feel excited about this, and I feel like I visualize these beautiful rolling hills in the country and the flaxen golden grain and the beautiful blue sky and the sun on my face, and it feels like I can breathe. I can smell the sweet smell of summer as I walk down this left path. Wow, that is even better than both of the other 2 or the other one. All right, that's the left. Then you notice you have evaluated your decision-making process without getting your ego tied into the end result. So then what you do is you open your eyes, take a deep breath in, and you go back to those 3 pieces of paper, and you look for the one that says L on the back, and then you flip it over, and that is the best decision you can make. Because you've aligned yourself, you've gotten clear on what you want, then you aligned yourself and you went and did this technique to go in to sense the energy. Is this an alignment? Is this light and expansive, or is this tight and constricting? What are my feelings here as I go to the right and go to the center and go to the left? Which one feels better to me? Well, I don't know. It just kind of feels like it's not based on logic and reason. It's based on your intuition. It's based on your empowered future. It's based upon your higher wisdom, your higher self. And that technique takes time, but you know what? When you're making a major decision in your life that's going to have rippling effects for other people, it's good that you take the time to explore. Now, for those of you, my metaphysical friends, and I know you're out there, there's another quote variation of this same technique. You can get the 3 pieces of paper, and let's say you don't visualize very well. Oh, Mikhail, I'm a lousy visualizer. Well, it's not just about visualizing, it was about imagining. And imagination encompasses all the other senses. Like, notice I said, how does it smell? What does it feel like? What is my body responding? Does it seem expansive or constricting? Those are beyond visualization. They're your other inner senses. And imagination includes visualization, but it includes inner hearing, inner smell, inner touch, inner taste. So it includes other, quote, senses. But if you don't feel confident doing that and you happen to be good at the pendulum, for those people who know about the pendulum is a direct connection to your subconscious mind. When you've learned to connect it, you can ask, what is the direction for a yes answer? Oh, yes is a circle. Yes, clockwise circle. That is the direction for yes. Stop, thank you. What is the direction for no? No is a line, a solid line back and forth. Yes, it's always been that way for me. Those are my indicators. Thank you. Now, what is the movement for indecision, meaning be patient, don't make a decision at this time? What is the movement for that? Oh, it's a counterclockwise circle going in the opposite direction. That means, timing's not right. Don't make any rash decisions. So this pendulum technique, then you, again, taking the pieces of paper where you do not know the answer on the other side. And then you hold one of those pieces of paper in your hand and you ask your higher self, as you connect with your subconscious mind, actually, and it connects to your higher self, doing the exercise like I mentioned, get centered, connect with that ball of light, ask for clarity, and start. Is this the best decision for me? Oh, it's a yes. Yeah, this is definitely good. This is a yes. So I'm going to set this aside, not look at it, get the next piece of paper. Is this the best decision for me? And just see what it says. Oh, no, it's going back and forth. Nope. This is what I'm going to put over here. And then the third one. Ask all three, because you might find that two of them are good for you. That two of those choices could be, Washington or San Francisco. Both would be good for you. Doesn't mean like they all have to be perfectly, one is good and one is bad. They could be, two of them are good possibilities for that empowered future to unfold. So then you ask the third one, and this one is, oh yes, it's a yes too. So I have two yeses. That means that these two choices available would be good for me. And then you flip it over and you look at, yep, California and Seattle, whatever. Or this job number 1 and job number 3 are good for me and in alignment. And so that's another variation. If you don't want to do the guided meditation part or the guided visualization part, you can do the pendulum part. And I highly recommend that for those friends of mine who are good with the pendulum, that have already got a connection. Because I don't have time to teach you a class on how to connect your subconscious mind with a pendulum. But I gave you a pretty quick outline of how to do that. So those of you who work with pendulum, you could do that variation. Or just do the guided visualization, the guided experience where you go, close your eyes and go down the paths, the crossroads technique. So I am on here on Melon, and I'm streaming on several different platforms all at the same time. And I don't see where to find my comments. Or here's chat. Okay. All except Facebook. Profiles, groups. I don't know what that means. Oh, that's to send messages. Anyways, I hope you got some value from this. And by the way, if you got a lot of value from this, and let's say that, I need to re-listen to this. I need to hear this again. I actually have this recorded as a course. It's called How to Make Trustworthy Decisions. And you can find that at movingbeyondstruggle.com. movingbeyondstruggle.com. It is a website that I have, and you can get this course. It's available, and it has the techniques, and actually more techniques that are delineated, and much more time involved in the explanation of some of this. But if you got a lot of value from this and you think, you know what, I'd really like to check that out, then you can take that course, and I can give you a coupon code that you can use called Soul Friend. If you type in coupon code Soul Friend, it'll give you 75% off of the course. That is a video course that you can use whenever you need to make trustworthy decisions, that you can have as a resource to go back to. In other words, once you buy the course, you have lifetime access to it. So you purchase it for one fee, and you get your coupon discounted, which is only good till the end of this week. You can watch the course at your leisure. You can go back and actually be guided in that process. So if that's something that you're interested in, that's also available. But hopefully I've given you enough information that you can understand that when it comes to the unknown of the future, how much more different would your life be if you knew that you could trust yourself, that you knew that you could trust your empowered future, that you knew you could trust your soul to guide you toward greater love and greater peace and greater happiness and success. That's what making trustworthy decisions can help you to do. And in the video course, I talk about what makes up a trustworthy decision, because not everything is about trust. As far as a decision that is trustworthy, there are certain decisions I can make that doesn't necessarily involve trust. And there might be criteria of what is a trustworthy situation. So I talk about that too as well in the course. But if you have any questions, please IM me. If you needed to get the website I mentioned, Moving Beyond Struggle, movingbeyondstruggle.com. You can see the course there. If you type in Soul Friend, all one word, all connected, Soul Friend, you get a coupon code of 75% off. And I hope to see you inside the course, or at least on Facebook here from time to time. I'm on here pretty much every day for at least a period of time to explore and see what's going on with my friends and my family and other people. So it's been a pleasure, and it's been fun sharing this with you. And I hope you got some value from today's lesson in class. Take care now, and may your path continue to reveal the beautiful and powerful spiritual being that you've always been and are becoming more as the days unfold. Take care now. God bless you. I look forward to connecting with you in the future. Bye now.